Centralizing, buying time, killing people next in line. Lower classes, social slime, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air. Fuck them back, it's only for they war. They shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids, no one makes countries. Laugh to your face, fight and die. Cause God forgives. Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower classes, social slide, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. See their shit, force a bear. Fuck them back, that's only fair. They bomb, they shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids, no one makes countries. Lie to your face, fight and die, cause God forgives. Yeah. Coming back around again.
Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Ron Stevens. This is Rock the Boat right here on UCY.TV. It is the 10th of August. And I guess everybody's practicing duck and cover right now. Apparently, the little man over in North Korea and Donald Trump are getting into a mouth match about the North Korean nuclear missiles. When are people going to understand? They just keep using the same damn template over and over and over and over and over again. I was a kid in the late 50s, early 60s, and we were playing duck and cover in our schools because, ooh, Russia's got the nuclear missiles aimed at North America and the world. Look out. So we played that game for a while. And then we had Saddam Hussein's nuclear bomb. Didn't exist. And now North Korea's got a nuclear bomb. Probably doesn't exist. I don't know, you know, like that herd mentality, I guess it's correct. Went to get a coffee this morning and everybody that came in there was buying lottery tickets. Very, very few of them ever win anything. Just enough to keep them going. It's amazing. Guess I'm not part of the herd. Don't eat at fast food joints. I don't understand how anybody gets sucked into eating at them places. Herd mentality, I guess. Oh my God, global warming, global warming. Oh, there's the herd again. Bah. Jesus. Pretty pathetic, actually. Not pretty pathetic, it's totally pathetic. So we've got the migrant influx from all over Hell's Half Acre into the West. We've got now we got North Korea, we've got the LGBTQ pride parades, we've got the Black Lives Matter and the Native Lives Matter, and we've got schools that are teaching the kids and the not kids in the universities, absolute bunk. But by the time they get through the public school system, get into the universities, their brains are so warped, they actually think they're being taught something of use. Pretty sad. Pretty sad indeed. Now, I see Hillary Clinton, and where the hell did I see that? Hillary and Bill and Chelsea are coming up to Quebec for a holiday, apparently. I don't have the story right in front of me. I just went by it really quick. I don't know exactly what their itinerary and that is when they get here, but let me just see if I can dig it out real quick. But why wouldn't they come to Canada for their holiday? Oh, what the hell's going on here? Why wouldn't they go to Canada for a holiday? Why not? I mean, I'm sure they don't have to pay for it either. Clinton family to vacation at a luxury resort in Quebec. Security run high for Clinton's family Quebec holiday, experts say. Clinton family to take over the Manoir Hobie in Quebec's eastern townships. Security high, yada, yada, yada. And why wouldn't they come to Canada? Because, you know, we've been pretty good to the Clintons here, us Canadians, us dumbasses from the north, us mentally deranged, stupid people, the people who like to whine and bitch and complain, but never ask anybody any serious questions, nor do they ever do any serious research, because there's always something come down to bitch and complain about next. So, let's see where we got here. Okay, let's go here, I guess. No, let's not go there. Let's go here. Isn't that a happy looking? God damn, that woman's ugly. You know, if you had a horse, that's the only thing I can describe Chelsea Clinton. It looks like a freaking horse. I mean, that is some bad ugly. I mean, that's real bad ugly. But hey, they're coming to Quebec. The small Quebec town of North Hatley has long been a vacation enclave for the well-to-do. Wealthy families from the American South actually helped found the place and spent summers there in the 19th century. Celebrities and politicians have been known to visit in more recent years, including former premier, who is among the area's many cottagers. In keeping with that aura of exclusivity, the local car wash is trying out a new offer that's targeted at one of the most narrowest customer demographics imaginable. If you are a former Secretary of State or a former President of the United States, reads the placard presently outside the J.C. Lav Auto on Rue Mill, please stop by for a free car wash. It's not a complete shot in the dark. CBC reports that the Clinton family, former President Bill, former Secretary of State, and presidential candidate Hillary, and their daughter, horse-faced Chelsea, and grandchildren Adrian and Charlotte, is coming to town this weekend for an extended holiday in the lush, hilly eastern township. They're expected to stay at the decidedly posh Manoir, the Manor, Hobie Manor estate in North Hatley, which is nestled against the tree shoreline of Seahorse-shaped Lake Massawappi. I've never had so many people taking a picture of my sign, said the car wash owner. I don't expect them to stop by, but I just thought it was funny, just for a joke. Anyways, the Manor is considered one of Canada's fanciest hotels. Travel writer in the Star last year wrote that it was named Canada's #1 resort inn by Travel Leisure, while American publisher Condé Nast included in a list of the world's best hotels. It was also included on a 203, whatever. So, they're going to come up here and spend some time. Don't say how much time, whatever. But you know, the way I figured it out is us up here in the north have probably donated somewhere in the vicinity of $1 billion freaking dollars to the Clinton Foundation. And why wouldn't they come? Maybe we'll give them some more money. You know, we give them $780 million that went to the Global Fund, but when you track the Global Fund, you find out that the Global Fund funds the Clinton Foundation. It's kind of like all that money that got lost in Haiti, you know. Lots of money got put in and they built 6 shacks or something. And then we give them another 200 million, I think, and then another 20 million. So you're getting awful close to, well, you're getting right on the mark of the $1 billion. And so we love the Clintons here in Canada. We absolutely hate Bush, or not Bush, but well, we hated Bush. And we love the Clintons. And we hate Trump. But we love Obama. Really rather pathetic. I saw a story, a guy got I think he got thrown in jail. Some Muslim at a mosque or something apparently messed with a child. The guy was pissed off about it, so he went and put some bacon on the mosque stairs, and apparently he got arrested and the Muslim didn't. It's getting more bizarre by not even by the day anymore. It's more like by the hour. You know, it's absolutely crackerjack. So, you know, maybe the Clintons will fork over some of that money to help put up Tent City here. Because we need, we've opened up the Olympic Stadium. I guess it's full. We're now building tent cities for the migrants. And we hear all these stupid stories from the so-called government, you know, oh, we're doing this the way it's supposed to be done. No, it's not. They're going to the sanctuary cities, which are illegal because they thumb the nose at the federal government. But, oh, don't worry about that. No, we're following all the rules and regulations. But yeah, don't look over there where the real news is. Just listen to us. So, military builds tent village to house surge of asylum seekers at Quebec border. Now, you know, the military always goes overseas to blow shit up. But, you know, well, we're doing it because, you know, like we're protecting the countries, like America and Canada and whatnot. That's why we go over there. But when you come home, you don't have much, you're not really in protection mode, are you? Like, you're not stopping the problem that's coming into the country here. You'll go overseas and blow shit up in order to create the migrants to bring them here. I don't know if the army people are just plain stupid or what the problem is with them. I've often wondered that because I would never join the forces. Because there's not been a war since the founding of the United Nations that threatened anybody. But we always send our troops over there to save us when there's no threat. So I know some of the military are starting to get their brains screwed on straight and starting to understand that there's a problem going on here. But then a lot of guys just like to go shoot at stuff and blow things up, so it's a pretty good deal for them. And the military, like government, like the police, like everybody else, well, just following orders. Well, all right, here's an order. Smarten the hell up. How's that for an order? Says here the Canadian soldiers have built a tent city near the United States border to accommodate the influx of asylum seekers crossing into Quebec. The camp will be able to accommodate up to 500 people in St. Bernard de la Colle, Quebec. It consists of modular tent shelters with floors, lighting, and heating. The Armed Forces said it in a statement Wednesday. Setting up tents, this is something obviously we're quite familiar with. We're pretty good at doing this, said Major Yves Desbin, the spokesperson on the ground for the Canadian Armed Forces. But in terms of these capacities, this is not something we do often. Authorities have struggled in recent weeks to handle a surge in people coming to Quebec at unofficial crossings such as Roxham Road. The RCMP has already set up a tent at the crossing to deal with the arrivals. Now, in the old days, you see, it used to be called trespassing. If a whole bunch of people just came over to your yard and said, hi, yeah, I know we're not supposed to be here, but, you got a tent or something we can sleep in on your yard? No? What do you mean, no? Well, I didn't invite you here, so piss off. Well, yeah, but we're here now. Well, ain't my problem. Go away. Now, that would be a normal function of a mentally sane man or woman, but if you're in the police force or the government or the armed forces, that ain't how your brain works. Come on in. Come on in. Now, we had the Haitian government up here the other day, and apparently we're getting streamed big time by Haitians as well, but why not? The Clintons are here, and a lot of people donated a shitload of money to the Clinton Foundation to help the Haitians, so I guess the money didn't go to the Haitians, so the Haitians might as well follow the money, and they know Clintons are coming to Quebec, and they know that the idiots in Canada funded the Clinton Foundation to the tune of almost $1 billion, so I suppose it makes sense that the Haitians are coming this way. Patrick Lafort, a spokesman for the Canadian Canada Border Services Agency, said there are currently 700 people waiting to be processed who have crossed at Roxham Road. He said the wait is 2 to 3 days, and there are currently no beds, just benches and chairs. Currently, we're looking to add some capacity to the process, the claims, so we are trying to work to reduce the backlog, says the Army. The camp is located in a converted private campsite close to where asylum seekers are being processed. Did I tell you, or do you know, that the Minister of Immigration in Kazakhstan is a Muslim? Did I mention that? Now, how in the hell did a Muslim become the Minister of Immigration in Kazakhstan? Anyways, the military is expected to finish setting up the tents Thursday. Asylum seekers will be provided all the amenities that will ensure the dignity and comfort of the people being housed. The majority of the soldiers return to their home bases once the camp is completed and won't play a role in security matters. A request for the camp was made by Public Safety Canada. Quebec is also facing logistical challenges in providing schooling accommodation and other services once asylum seekers get to Montreal. The cavernous Olympic Stadium is already being used to house people, but it will not be available as of next month, officials said in a news conference. The city of Old Royal Victoria Hospital, which closed in 2020, will also be opened up to new arrivals. Now, there's a link here. It says, "Thank you, God. Asylum seekers find warm welcome at the Olympic Stadium." Now, I don't know if that's the migrants saying that, or because you'd say, like thank Allah or thank Muhammad. I don't know. I haven't hit the link yet, but now the Haitians apparently risk a deportation. I think that's why their government was up here the other day. Many of the recent refugee claimants crossing Quebec are Haitians who have been living in America for years but now face deportation. In May, U.S. President Donald Trump announced that he would not be extending temporary protection status for Haitian nationals past January, when it is set to expire. It was granted after the 2010 earthquake, but now the Department of Homeland Security considers Haiti to be a safe country. There's no guarantee that Haitian asylum seekers will be able to stay in Canada. They're not Muslims, so hey, we got to make room for the Muslims, so you Haitians are going to have to go home. You can stay up here and visit Bill and Hillary if you want, but then you got to get the hell out of here. To be successful, a claimant must demonstrate he or she has legitimate fear of persecution or other violence in their country of origin. The Haitian government visit amid influx in asylum seekers worries immigration lawyers is another link. Yada, 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 yada. Immigration Canada said the number of asylum seekers crossing illegally near St. Bernard border crossing has quadrupled in the past 2 weeks, from about 50 to 200 a day. Montreal's French language school board is also gearing up to start enrolling children in classes at the end of the month. And the Montreal schools brace for an influx of asylum seekers. Now, Donald Trump, I guess at this point in time, is probably the most hated man on the planet, which is a good sign. It's not a good sign he's kissing Israel's ass, but it's a good sign that he's pissed everybody off. It may give people time to think a little bit about well, here's something interesting. The rise of Maldo Lamonte, queen of Montreal's gay village. I didn't know there was a gay village in Montreal. I thought Montreal was a city. I've visited it several times, and I don't recall it being a gay village. Look at this shit, man. This is brain dead. This is frigged up. Ain't nothing normal in this country no more, I tell you that. That is for absolute certain. Now, we got some other problems here. Let's see what this says. No one is illegal, it says on the sign. Thank you, God. Asylum seekers find warm welcome at the Olympic Stadium. With a huge surge of asylum seekers crossing in Canada, Holy crap. I guess I'm supposed to be talking them on air. Yeah. Yeah, they're talking mainly about Haitians here. I'm not seeing a lot of words about Muslims, so they put the Haitian thing up in front uh, so that you don't notice what's really going on, I guess. Um, Seems to be what that's going on about. Um, and we also have good evening, Christopher.
Hey, Ron.
How you doing?
Good. I'm going to have to, I forgot about something here.
What?
I got UCY on and I got to shut it off.
Ah.
Got it. All right, there we are.
Do you want to go? You want to go up to Quebec and spend the weekend with the Clintons?
Well, what you said though, what made me call it today, was what you said about these immigrants coming in, and they're setting up to put them in school next month.
Yeah.
Now, how does that work? Like we've got the Montreal Stadium filled up, we've got schools filled up, we've got our military's finally getting involved, but not in a good way. They're setting up tent cities for them. And what, we're just going to start releasing them and putting them into our school system like within a month? Is that how it works here in Canada or in the United States?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, you don't have a country. It's that sign said no one is illegal. Well, that's exactly right. No one is illegal. Anybody can move anywhere they want to any damn country they want now. Not as immigrants, but as migrants. Everyone has the right to move around the world looking for a better place. And that is part of the documents that the member states, all 193 of them, agreed to. So there is no borders left. They may be there, but when you see the RCMP carrying luggage for illegals, it may kind of scratch your head. But the sign's absolutely correct. According to the United Nations, nobody's illegal. And so we get this rhetoric from the governments about, we're going to handle this properly and everything. And they just open the floodgates, man.
So we feed and clothe them and give them spending cash while they're here for 30 days, and then we enroll them in our schools with our students.
That's right. And then because they're in your schools and the Muslims are Islamic, then they have to have their prayer times. And then the schools will teach the white kids to welcome the new kids by joining in on the 5-time-a-day Islamic prayer system. And pretty soon, because see, the little kids that are in the school now, what was it, 10 years ago or so that they took the Lord's Prayer out of the legislature and the councils and the schools and every other damn place. So any kid that's 10, 12 years old has never heard any of this stuff about Lord's Prayer before. So now they have new minds that are empty and new kids from a foreign country. And wouldn't it be fun to join in on their prayers, kids? And that's what's going on. And everybody should be thoroughly pissed off. But of course you're not. Bah. I tell you, man, I was getting my coffee this morning. I'm watching these jackasses, one after the other, after the other, after the other, after the other coming in. And they just walk up there like brain dead animals, humans, and they just put their money down and get their lottery tickets and don't really win anything, and then they come back the next day and do the same thing. So, the average man or woman, especially those going to church. I mean, I told you when I was at Michael's farm there to raise money for his court costs, that lady, I said hi to everybody as they parked and that and talked to them a bit and see where they're from and stuff. And I could tell when this lady got out of the car, she was some sort of a do-gooder. I'm sure she's a churchgoer. And then we're talking for, a few seconds, and then the doors on the other side of the car opened up, and out piles all these Muslims, Syrians. And they didn't speak any English. Got here July 4th. The kids will be enrolled in school in the fall. You can guarantee it. And, but they don't speak English. And I'll guarantee you that woman goes to church. Now they're not bringing in Syrian Christians. They're just only bringing in Muslims. I don't know any Syrian Christian to date that's been brought into this country. Just the Muslims.
So the Muslims that got out of the other side of the car, it's a question I need to ask. The Muslims got out of the other side of the car that didn't speak no English were there to support Michael and his raw milk? Or did you couldn't understand them why they were there?
Well, no, that lady brought them.
Yeah, but why were they there?
Well, because she's their nursemaid or whatever. She's their mother hen, right? They were brought in here, sponsored in here, whatever the hell they were.
Okay, that makes the next question.
Like they don't drive. They're not driving or nothing. So, she's getting them familiar with their new homeland.
So did they donate any of our taxpayers' dollars towards Michael's cause?
I have no idea. I have no idea at all. There's, they may eventually just show up at Michael's farm and say, this is ours now. Right? Who knows? It's bloody ridiculous. There's, I don't know, man. It's a freaking mess. But anyway, the Clintons, were invited to the townships by best-selling author Louise Penny, who lives in Knowlton. Hillary Clinton has repeatedly mentioned being a fan of Penny's Inspector Gamache series, which follows a fugitive Quebec detective. So they're coming up here. When the hell are they coming here? They're coming here Sunday, and they're going to stay till August. Where the hell did I see that? They're going to stay here till August the 19th or something. Yeah, the Clintons are expected to arrive on Sunday and stay till August 19th. So they'll be here for a week. They will be housed in one of the suites away from the main building. The other guests would like that because they don't want to catch the same mental disease that the Clintons seem to have. The Secret Service visited the resort, which spans some 35 acres on the shore of Lake Massaipi, for a security check last week, and the manor placed 19th on the list of the world's finest hotels. So, they're going to stay there till August the 19th, and then her new memoir, What Happened, which details her failed presidential bid, is out on September the 12th. So they're going to rest her up here in Canada till just before her book goes on the market, and then I'm sure she'll be on Oprah and every other two-bit freaking talk show pushing her book, and they'll be discussing the evil Mr. Trump, I'm sure of it, and will you make a run, Hillary, in 2020? Have you made any plans yet? We got to get Trump out of there. Christ, North Korea's going to bomb us. It's so freaking bizarre. And now I see out in Edmonton, we used to call it Edmundchuk when I lived out there. There's a lot of Ukrainians in around the Edmonton area. There used to be. Now there's a lot of Muslims. They're starting that nonsense of the charter cities. Where is that damn thing? You've heard of these charter cities, right? And this is what they're going to do. Alberta unveils proposed city charter for Calgary and Edmonton, but doesn't include taxation powers yet. Okay, this is just getting a foot in the door. And the one thing on here that really bothers me, because I read about it many years ago, the cities will now be, they are businesses now, because according to the federal government, municipalities are actually a type of business. And the same thing in the United States. So now what they're doing is they're splitting them off from the state and the provinces, so that they are kind of like standalone, right? And they can do what they want, more or less, and their powers are going to increase and increase and increase and increase. And as they do that, because they're trying to drive people into the cities and out of the rural areas for the rewilding program, the money will be flowing into the cities. The money will not be flowing to the rural areas. And the rural areas will be forced. It's almost like, I like Nova Scotia as a good example. I think Nova Scotia kind of runs east-west, more or less, north-east, south-west. But Nova Scotia, everybody's involved in Agenda 21, but and it's all about rewilding. In Nova Scotia, you can draw a line almost down the middle of the province, and everybody's being jammed onto the one side, and the other side you can buy houses for next to nothing because there's nothing going on. They basically, the older people were there, and the kids and the young people went to the universities, and the universities aren't in the rural areas, and then they moved into cities, and then they shut down the industries on the other side, and those people had to sell their houses for next to nothing because there's no work, and move into the cities. And this is what they're doing. And but the one thing that really bothers me here, and I've been trying to remember what the hell it's called. If Kathy's listening, she can tell me. I got it on my blog. I just can't remember what the hell it's called. And it's the clean energy loans. And this gives the cities the ability to provide loans to homeowners to fund energy efficient or renewable energy upgrades. These loans will be held or will be tied to the property. Now, I got a document, I'm damned if I can remember what it's called, that David Suzuki was paid to produce, only he didn't produce it. He just Canadianized the UN document. They're identical documents. It's a plagiarized document. He just put Canada stuff in it. It's just another template. And I'm sure some environmental guy in Australia did the very same thing, and so on and so forth. But what this does, because according to the United Nations and according to the 76 Conference on Human Settlements in 1976 in Vancouver, Canada, what's not sustainable private property. Now, if you read the document from Suzuki or the United Nations, you will see that this clean energy loan thing is a absolute way to run people out of their homes. And because what they're doing is this money, where the hell is the municipality getting the money? Where the hell is the municipalities getting the money to pay for your upgrades? It's supposed to be your house. You're supposed to be in charge of paying for the upgrades. Now, these are loans. They're attached to your house, like a tax. But that's sold off in the derivatives market. So the municipalities are using your house as a funding formula. Okay, and then the banks got the tag on your house. And as these debts go up, and as it says in that Suzuki or UN document, we will loan the money to these people, and then once they're upgraded, then we will raise the bar. So you have to upgrade further. And then we'll raise the bar, so you have to upgrade further. And what that does is it makes the house unsustainable, as in their language, cost-wise, because there's too much money involved in the house. And eventually, they will crack the interest rates up, and these people that are tagged to these loans will be screwed, as much as everybody else is going to be screwed. And like history shows us, and has proven to us over and over and over and over and over again, that that once they ride this up and they crash it, then the boys that drove the price up and crashed it will come in and pick up your assets for next to nothing. And they'll all be corporations, and you will all be corporate rent slaves as per plan. So this thing about these charter cities, these sanctuary cities, this shit's all coming out of the United Nations. It all comes out of the United Nations. It originates from the United Nations players, but you go to the Rockefeller Foundation, you put in sustainable cities, or what's the word for it? I looked it up, and what they got here, charter cities. If you want to know what's going on, all you got to really do is, I use different search engines, but the Rockefeller search engine's a beauty one. Charter cities, first thing that comes up. I put in charter cities, Rockefeller, charter cities, the Rockefeller Foundation. Because they're involved in all this stuff. The Rockefeller don't want you. It's control everything, own nothing shit, right? And they don't want you to have a house. They don't want you to have a private vehicle, right? This is massive communism. And, but they're the smart cities. You can call them smart cities, or you can call them, here's this doofus, economist Paul Romer unveils a bold idea. Now, they've already been doing this in China. So these charter cities, even though they're still in the state or in the province, they become like separate entities. Okay? And I think they did that already in the States, where they cut off a 50-mile square. And it's like the Vatican or London City or D.C. These are separate entities residing within the broader state, but they're not part of it. Separate entities. So now you have the ability to raise money. So now you could have Saudi investors want to come in Edmonton or Toronto or Ottawa and put a bunch of money into it. Then they basically will end up controlling it eventually. And it's a very, very dangerous game that's being played out here. And it's all part of taking down the nation state. Okay, if you take all these cities, there's a whole slew of these charter cities in California already, and we know how crooked California is. And if I'm not mistaken, that's where the United Nations Charter was signed. It was in California, maybe San Francisco, I think. So, World Bank taps charter cities visionary Paul Romer as chief economist. Idea of charter cities for the poor countries has been named, enjoys generous support from the Rockefeller Foundation. So, they're putting up these charter cities in Edmonton and Calgary, and not telling you who the hell's behind it. And this is how bad. I mean, government's always been bad, but now we got some serious problems. Okay, so this Paul Romer, economist, developed the idea of charter cities for poor countries. They always start with the poor countries, by the way, always, and then they start moving it. Okay, so has been named World Bank chief economist Helmut Reisen writes for the Globalist that the bank's choice for this position always hints at the next era of focus for the institution. The special economic zones, that's what they're called, special economic zones, by Romer, are intended to be sheltered from the corruption and violence that often dissuades economic development in developing countries. Romer also sees potential for experimental setup cities in prosperous countries such as the U.S., where they could emphasize new technologies such as autonomous vehicles. But the concept also has critics. Efforts by the Honduran government to create charter cities sparked protests since the designated land is home to indigenous people. And this is the other thing they're trying to do. Okay, they're trying over here to get the indigenous people, through Paul Martin in particular in Canada. I don't know who's doing it in the States. That the indigenous people come on board so that they have the right to buy and sell land just like the rest of us. And if there's a native person out there listening, pay attention, okay? This ain't here to help you, my friends. This is here to turn your land into something the corporations can get, which at this present time they can't. The last thing you want to be if you're a native is a white boy. You don't want to go there. Your land is protected. Ours is not. So, yeah, so this is, where's this off of? This is City Signals. Top urban news, trends, and reports curated for the world's city leaders. I'll put this in the chat because this is actually probably a pretty important document for people to understand. But they're coming for you. And your house, I don't care how long ago you paid it off, is not sustainable. You know, we already got this nonsense of these autonomous vehicles they're testing over here already, and it was the where the hell that document get to? What did he call these things? Special economic zones. Now, I think there's already special economic zones set up in the United States for future Chinese factories or whatever. That way they don't have to ship your natural resources across the ocean, manufacture in their plants, and then send it back. What's going to end up happening is they're going to use your resources and build in their factories where they're anonymous. They're not bound by the state laws. So, like Morris Strong said, nobody can compete with us over here because we got the cheapest labor, referring to China. Well, okay, let's get rid of the shipping. You know, we'll just bring the factory and set it back on American soil. The very factory that you guys used to work in, you know, that used to support your families in that for generations, and then gone over to China. You're going to end up bringing them back, put them in these special economic zones, and they're completely outside, just like Washington, D.C. is not part of America. Okay? And we got all kinds of trouble going on here, people. All kinds of it. So, you know, look into that. The source is The Globalist. That makes perfect sense for their paper. It's a good name for it, I guess. This is our supporters are the Ford Foundation and Urban Futures and Planet Zine And but this, this is this you punch in Rockefeller Foundation, you end up here. And but here they have our supporters. They have the Ford Foundation and the Urban Futures, which probably is funded by the Rockefellers or somebody else. But see, this takes you right back to the Reece Commission. All the way back to the Reece Commission in, what was that, the 50s? 50s, early 60s, whatever. When the Reece Commission was set up, and Norman Dodd was the head of it, to find out what the hell these tax-exempt foundations were up to. And so Dodd was talking to one of the guys from the Ford Foundation, and the Ford Foundation wondering what the Reece Commission is up to. And Dodd tells the guy from the Ford Foundation, well, we're trying to figure out what you guys are up to, these tax-exempt foundations. And the guy from the Ford Foundation said, well, that's easy. Our job is to Sovietize America, which isn't just America, it's the West. Sovietize the West. And that's exactly what's happened, because you have these massive bureaucracies, and that's one of the reasons all your jobs left the country, was in order to build these bureaucracies. People already had jobs. So who wants to work for the government? Yuck. So they vacate your jobs offshore, and you're sitting around and they say, oh, we'll retrain you to use a computer keyboard. Next thing you know, you're working in a government bureaucracy. All by plan. So don't get too jacked up about Trump and I don't even know what the hell his name is in North Korea. But if you really want to look at what sustainable would look like globally, it would look like North Korea. Okay? You get to use very little electricity, and that's right out of the United Nations, and Morris Strong, Rockefeller, and that. They want you to reduce your electricity and water usage by 75% in order to be sustainable. How are they going to do that? By raising the prices. They said it. So all this rhetoric about, I still hear all this garbage about Obama and all this, they want to, the media is big time down on Trump, at least here. And it's all just noise. Okay? You want to know what the hell's going on? Go read some UN documents. Go read the Ford Foundation. Go read the Rockefeller Foundation. You got a question, put the query in and punch one of these names behind it. You want to punch something in, the World Bank is the UN, World Health Organization is the UN, the FOA is the Food and Agriculture Organization, or FAO, Food and Agriculture. You want to know why your food sucks so bad? Right? Just fire in the FAO. You want to know most anything, you just go to one of the UN agencies. You want to know why your kids are being taught sex ed at the age of 1? Just slide on over to UNESCO. It's all there. It's all wrote down. All of it. And their plan is to absolutely put the screws to us. But nobody wants to know about it. I'm sick of people saying, oh, Canada's the best country in the world. What? Are you a retard? Well, there's a lot worse places than ours. Not for long, boys and girls, not for long. Like, we are well into the takedown now. And if we don't... Now, who's this here? Now, this is pretty cool. Recent warns that national governments must cede control to foreign investors and corporations. That's the whole thing. That's the whole game. And they say it over and over and over. Okay? The corporations will be the new government. And there are fears that the new cities could become havens for tax evasion, money laundering. Recent formerly head of research at the OEC Development Center also suggests that the charter cities are a form of colonization, which they are. But that's the critic, right? Don't listen to the critic. Romer is a New York's University economics professor and director of NYU's Marin Institute of Urban Management. Learn more about his vision for the new cities here and here. So I would ask you to hit those links. And he did a talk on TED Talks, and anybody that talks on TED Talks is trouble. Okay, TED Talks is huge trouble. That's where people like Gates and that talks that we have to reduce the CO2 emissions to zero. And that's all part of the depopulation nonsense. So, grab that link, and if somebody's listening, you can just put in, let's see, I would just put in City Signals, but it's spelled CITISIGNALS. Or you can put in City Scope. Again, city spelled with an I, and then scope. Global goals, local solutions. Global to local, giving all the frickin' power to the globalists. You got to stomp on that. Got to stomp on it. City Signals enjoys generous support from the Rockefeller Foundation. And it was the Ford Foundation and the Rockefeller Foundation and the Carnegie Foundation on this side of the water, and all these people on the other side of the water. These are the guys that created the United Nations, for crying out loud. Okay, the United Nations is a tax-exempt foundation, just like Rockefeller and Carnegie and Ford and the multitude of other tax-exempt foundations that have fired up since. And these people, like they say, they don't care about owning it. They just want to control it all. When they control it, they control what you eat, what you drink, what you think, everything. They just control it. And through their system, their plan is to depopulate this planet big time. And I think I'm going to hear music really, really fast. So read that, Cityscope, generously funded by the Rockefeller and Ford Foundations. And we'll be back Saturday night over on Revolution Radio, 10 to midnight. And we'll see where this all takes us. But we got to wake up, folks, and we best do it fast. It's okay to read, you know. It's okay to read. It works because it wrote everything down. That means all you got to do is whatever you're interested in, just punch it into the search bar. I mean, it couldn't be any freaking easier. When I was in my 20s in Calgary working as a reporter, if I wanted to know something, I had to go into the library and them great big old freaking dusty reference books. A whole hell of a lot more difficult than punching something into Google. You just take it, punch it, put one of them names behind it, and read it. Everybody have a great evening. We're back there.
Lower classes, social slime, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air. Fuck them back, it's only for they war. They shoot, they kill.